Sorry, I just started burping, everybody. Welcome. It was the worst timing, but I needed to do it. I just ate, so. Okay, we had another patch today, 7.39D. I want to be clear about one thing real quick. I'm not going to talk a lot about it, but we now also have Quateros Curios. It's part of the patch, but it's not the patch. What it is there's more details to be had, but when you win, like when you play matches, you're going to get play games during levels and unlock new curios. A win gives you more, a loss gives you some, turbo gives you less, a loss in turbo gives you even less than that. It's right there available to you. It's just like a little free thing that they're adding. I think it's going to stay. The idea is that it's going to stay indefinitely. That's the goal. So I don't know a whole lot about it. I don't really want to get into it. I'd rather talk about this. Terrain changes. They increase the spawn boxes of triangle ancient camps. That just means that obviously it's easier to block, harder to pull. Probably good. There's a ward spot. I'm not going to know anything about this. Removing some trees as well. I agree with removing trees, so hey. Dire safe lane, which is top. Near the small camp, that's the pull camp. That actually might make it easier to pull. So cool. Because it is hard. Blade Mail. This is what me and Furry have been begging for. Nerfs. Damage bonus decreased by 3. Hey, right. Go in the right direction, right? The damage return is the bigger one. The passive attack damage. That's when you attack someone with a blade mail that is not activated. Used to be 20 flat, and then 20% of the damage reflected at the person that's attacking. Only right clicks, by the way. The passive is only for right clicks. They cut the flat 20 down to a flat 10, and then decreased 20% to 15. So that you just lost 10 plus 5%. That's how little it is. Now, granted, the passive is also active when you use the active. They combine together, basically, except the active part is for all damage. No, I'll make sure. I'm just gonna tell Rocket. I'm doing the patch review. I mean, I'll stay in the chat, yeah, Zeratal will be here. Also, he's playing Turbo. I'll stay in. I'm not gonna run away. I just want you to know. So currently we're live. Hello.
Hello.
Blade Mail in general is like this. This is the nerf I wanted, right? The passive especially was one of the most frustrating for someone like a Wind Ranger, so seeing that nerf just means that obviously Blade Mail is just like really still useful but coming down. A 10 attack range nerf on Dragonlance and Hurricane Pike, minor. It's nice for like Sniper, he has to be closer, so like hey. Glimmer cooldown was increased by 1, making Glimmer a worse item, which has been needed for like literally years. So good. Halberd buff, which I thought was surprising. The disarm duration went up for melee by 0.5 and range by 0.5, so just longer. That's good because Halberd didn't feel like it did enough, so I'm glad to see it just like being a little bit longer, a little bit more useful. Maelstrom no longer does bonus damage to illusions, and Mjolnir never did, but it apparently said it did, which it didn't, so they fixed that too. Mask of Madness lost a 10 attack speed. I think this is really big because it's a farming item for a lot of heroes like Sven, and now that farming will be a little slower. And the fighting item, when he first comes in with like a Mask of Madness Blink, he'll be doing less damage across that fight, minorly. Octarine lost 50 health, 50 mana. That's really minor. It's basically an end game nerf. It's just when you actually end up having like full slotted items, it'll just be a little bit squishier. Pavice costs less to use. That's fair. It's a really expensive item, but really good. So I'm glad to see it's like a little bit more useful with the mana cost. Phylactery and Conda both got their cooldown on the active part. This is the Empower spell that they both do, where the next unit target spell gets a bonus of damage and a slow. They lower the cooldown slightly, so it'll do it more often. I don't like to see that buff, but it's minor. Witchblade lost an armor. Parasma, which is an upgrade from Witchblade, lost an armor. These are minor changes. I don't think these are crazy. Those are all the items. Neutral items. Sister's Shroud. This is where you go to a certain percentage of health and you get some evasion, and every time that they you evade, it lowers that percentage, which resets if you die or kill. The starting evasion chance is lower, which means it's more likely to drop to like where you actually could be hit and don't evade as much. And the actual duration of this, because it only lasts so long, right? You get hit, you drop below 50% health, suddenly you have evasion. It only lasts for 5 seconds now. It was 8 before. So it's much worse, which is good. This needed a nerf. Gale Guard just gives less of a shield. Helm of the Undying makes you last longer, but you cannot attack buildings while under the death delay. I guess the idea is that the death delay, it would cause a problem where someone could just run at the tower and do a bunch of damage, and they could probably just keep doing it over and over and over again, like on their life. They could just keep running at it. And if your team was able to keep and delay a push, they could consistently travel near your base and run under the tower and just keep doing it. And if you even killed them, they just get an extra amount of time where they just keep hitting it. I guess that's fair. I'm not sure if it's needed. They could have addressed it in some other way, but whatever. Psychic push on headband is up more often, which is good because I never use this. Keen eye is disabled for much longer when you get hit. That's the increased cast range and attack range. It's down for twice as long. Big nerf. Self-exile and outworld staff is more expensive. Minor. The health regen and mana regen for the enchantments got nerfed across the board, early and late, which is probably needed. The rest of these are all heroes. A lot of nerfs, but some good buffs. The Aphotic Shield HP regen got decreased. That's a talent. Axe's Berserker's Call costs us 10 more at all levels. That's very hard. He's a very mana-intensive hero. In the kill armor bonus, that means when he kills someone with culling, he gives armor to himself and allies. That's what that does. Only for so long. It does less armor now. They nerfed it by 10 at all levels, so that he just gives less armor to himself and others. So it's not as big of a deal when he cullings. Still matters, but... Batrider lost some base agility, just makes him do less damage, because Batrider's a universal hero, so he lost only some of that damage, but it also means that obviously less attack speed, less armor. And Flame Break has a smaller radius, so it's harder to hit as many people. Nice nerfs to Batrider. They're small, but meaningful. For no reason at all, they buffed Bloodseeker. I don't get it. I can't even hold ult on this.
I am Bloodseeker.
So, what they changed was the Ags, right? Yeah, Scepter. So Scepter does 3% of the max target's health is pure, and he healed for 30% of that pure damage, which then went into the fact that Sanguivore, if he has his shard, it could be overheal. Not just heal, but it can turn into overheal, because that's often what it does when comboed together. It went from 30 to 35%, so even more health goes back to Bloodseeker. He gets even more health. And Bloodwright got a small damage buff, 10 at all levels. So, love that. Little dirt jerk. Bounty Hunter gives more gold to his allies by 10 at all levels from track. Crystal Maiden does a little more damage early with Freezing Field, which is actually huge, by the way. Because Freezing Field hits many, many, many times. It's 100 explosions. And now that it's 100 explosions that do 5 more damage each, that's 500 more damage. I know you're not getting hit with all of those, of course, but across like a big team, you're doing some amount of that. Let's say that half of them miss. Still 250 more damage across the team. That matters. Allies can no longer target Dark Willow when Shadow Realm's active. She still can. That means she can still use herself during Shadow Realm, stuff like that. But it does mean that if somebody else wants to purge her or save her with an ability, they actually can't now. That's a huge nerf to Dark Willow, I think. That's a very big nerf. And I think that that's going to hurt the hero tremendously. Solar Shards is whenever she hits a target with powered up luminosity, she decreases the cooldown of all her abilities. The cooldown reduction isn't as big. It was 1 second, now it's 0.8. So it just nerfed this facet. And her talent that makes Solar Guardian cooldown go down got nerfed as well by 5 seconds. Weave lasts 2 less seconds, the armor change. So 2 less seconds of armor change. I don't care about that. Doom gets less money, 5, 10, 15, 20, less gold from Devourer, which means he's just going to be a poorer hero, which is awesome. I love that, because Doom should never have been getting bonus gold anyway. Earth Spirit got a normalized damage. It used to be that his damage spread was 10. So, you hit, like you just say, it actually says it here. It was 47 to 57. 57 is still the same, but they upped the 47 to 53. It's a 6 difference. It's just to basically make his damage much more reliable. It does mean his average hit is more, because obviously now it's rolling between these numbers, which means he can't even get those lower numbers, so an average hit will be more. That obviously matters because it's a buff, but it's also just more reliable. You'll know how much damage he'll do. That doesn't even matter. The experience bounty, I guess when Enchantress takes a creep, she gets a percentage of the experience by taking the creep. It's as if it died. Now she gets more experience by 5%, which just means that, you know, it'll help her with levels, since she's not killing as much. Both different abilities for Void got a 5-second cooldown nerf at all levels, so they're going to be up a little bit more. And early game time lock does more damage, allowing Void to be much more relevant, you know, first couple levels. Phantom's Embrace on Grim, the cooldown was decreased at earlier levels, making you more likely to be able to fight in lane. And Inkswell's stun starts higher at the beginning, also to help you in lane. Io got some cooldown love for spirits. I mean, that's minor, but it's cool. Here's one of the things that Furry wanted. It's not as good as he's going to want. I think he's still going to be annoyed. But. The cleave range goes down by 2, like the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th level. It only goes down by 75 total. It's 0, 25, 50, 75. But still, it's still better than it was. Meaning it's the nerf. Luna's ult has 5-second less cooldown, so she'll have it up more often. Her talent that does a mini stun on Lucent Beam also went up by 0.1, making it more likely that she can actually like do stuff. Mirana's bonus arrow damage, like when it has its maximum distance, is always the same regardless of levels, so you really don't need to level up arrow as much. I don't even know what Changing the Guard does. Monkey King can transform into one of his soldiers during Wukong's command, taking its place and looking like them. Initial cooldown increased from 0.5 to 1, so it takes longer for him to do that, so he's a little bit less evasive. Aghanim Shard, don't even know what it does. Balance Strike applies Primal Spring with 40% of the max channeling duration power to enemies along the staff, which just means that he's going to hit them with, you know, the hit. It used to do more damage, it now does less. So they nerfed it, the Shard. Deluge, which does that caps their max move speed, doesn't last as long. It has to scale up to that now, so it doesn't do as long of an effect earlier. Song has less range early, so it has to scale up, so it's less likely to catch you. Nature's Prophet lost 0.2 agility gain, which is minor, especially considering he's still... Oh, he is universal. They ruined Soothing Saplings, which thank God for that. It lost 4. Ready for this one? This is crazy, by the way. 4, 11, 18, 15. That's how much they took. They barely took any at the beginning, but they end up taking 20. It's 25. Yeah, 25. I'm sorry. 4, 11. What's the difference between those? 7, 18. Yeah, 25. That's a normal progression. Because it's going up 7 every time. That's how much they changed it. Huge nerf on the Soothing Saplings. Sprout does less damage later in the game, which is minor. Sadist gives more health regen per kill now. No, not mana, but health regen, making Necro harder to kill. It's harder to slow people with Ghost Shroud. They have to be closer. Minor. These are so minor. Don't care about that. That's minor. Don't care about that. Blur has a lower cooldown, so you can use it more often. And the talent for evasion went up by 5%, making PA even harder to kill without a BKB, but you're just going to get a BKB. Primal got a small cooldown buff at the 2nd and 3rd level. It is very minor. It's 0, 1, 2, but I'll take it because his ult is sick. It is a 2.3 second BKB piercing stun, so any amount of cooldown reduction, I'll take. Puck lost some agility gain, and Puck is an int hero, so this only changes attack speed and armor. The minimum range for you to get the max lifesteal on Succubus, which is the lifesteal, it's the passive, the innate, went down. What that means is to get that maximum lifesteal, which is 14%, you have to be even closer to get that 14%, which means Quap has to put herself even more in danger at different parts throughout the game. Rough. Base strength on Sand King went up by 1, just a little tankier. Sandstorm is bigger at the beginning of the game, and bigger, it's always, is 50 bigger at every level. So, bigger Sandstorm. I like that a lot. Sand King probably did need love, so cool. Disruption has a higher cast range, which is huge for initiation and de-initiation. Very big for Shadow Demon. I don't see him played a lot. He is a good hero, just don't see him played a lot. So I think this will help a lot because it allows him to do his job from farther away. Shadow Fiend lost 1 armor, and his Presence of the Dark Lord got a nerf of 1 armor per level. So he's a little bit squishier, and he does less armor shred on everybody else as well. I think that's really needed, just to make the hero less of a safe lane carry. He'll still be played as one, but just like a little bit of like a little slap. Shaman, the ward's base attack time was increased by 0.1, meaning that Serpent wards, including the Mega Serpent ward, but as well as his Serpent ward, just do less damage, right? Just factually, they just do less. Wards no longer deal extra damage against Roshan either, making it harder to use them to Rosh. Base strength on Silencer went down by 1, making him a squishier hero, thank God. Ags on Skyrath makes there be 3 Arcane Bolts instead of 2. That's probably needed. It does feel weird that like it doesn't really add much to Arcane Bolt. Cookie got an early cooldown buff. Mortimer's Kisses, the pool of fire lasts 0.5 seconds less. Sorry, more. It lasts longer by 0.5 seconds. That's a big buff, but how often is that going to kill a hero? Probably not often. Spirit Breaker got a 3 damage buff. That just allows him to, obviously affect lane like a lot. Means you can be much more like aggressive in a lot of stages. Last hitting and stuff. Techie's got a 0.2 int gain, which he's in a universal, so the damage will be basically nothing, but it does increase his mana pool and mana regen, and some magic resistance. They decrease Templar's damage, which confuses the fuck out of me. The 2 to 3, which obviously just means 2 in the minimum, 1 on the maximum. You can see it, obviously. The 3 on the maximum and the 2 on the minimum. I don't know why, and they nerfed the talent too. Keen Conveyance, which is the teleport to a target-friendly structure. They buffed it by decreasing cooldown from 80 to 50, just making it so Tinker could do it more. Overgrowth does more damage, who cares? This one's big. Rotting Mist. While transformed into Flesh Golem, attack spawn a zombie. Zombies summoned by that facet now die when Undying dies, which is a huge nerf to Undying. Because all those zombies that would be just going ballistic, now they're gone. It's hard to kill Undying, but still. The zombies' vision range was decreased by 100. That means that the tombstone's area that it's going to spawn zombies is effectively smaller, I believe. Because I'm trying to think of how this works, because it says that zombies spawn in 1200, right? 1200 spawn radius. But I think their vision does matter, because they'll always target their person, but maybe if you just move far enough, they don't. I have to look into Tombstone. I'm not really sure how that works. Like, what does it mean to have zombie vision? You know what I mean? I actually am not sure. I'll look a little bit. Zombies do not spawn for invisible units or units in Fog of War. Yeah, I don't see it. It's hard to read it, but I take it to mean that you can lose zombies in Fog of War to some degree. So that's what it is. So it's a little nerf. Ursa has less damage in Maul now. Instead of it scaling as a percent of his health 1.2 to 1.5, it's just at 1.25, which is between the first and second level, which is a nerf, obviously. The Aghanim Shard and Rage duration was decreased by 0.1, which means when he buys his Ag Shard, he gets 0.1 less seconds of the damage reduction and stuff. Venge got a base damage increase of 2. However, agility gain went down by 0.2. This means that by level 10, Venge has the exact same damage. Well, is Venge no universal or agility? Agility, okay. The same damage, but past level 10, Venge has less damage. It also means Venge will have less attack speed and less armor. So this is going to be a nerf for most of the game. Viper's Nether Toxin does more damage. Reincarnation slows for 1 less second, and Heavenly Jump is a bigger jump early. As an overall summary, since I've been doing this for about 20 minutes, I'm going to make like a 20-second summary. I think that the nerf to Blade Mail buff to Halberd, and nerf to Mask are probably the biggest item changes. I think Blade Mail is probably the biggest. As far as heroes are concerned, most of these are minor. I don't think they're going to be anything major. I do think Bat Rider is going to see less play. Bloodseeker will see more. All these heroes are going to see the same amount of play, I think. Like, they're pretty minor. Oh, Dangerous Prophet will stop taking Soothing Saplings. He's not going to be played as a support anymore because he's too bad at it. I think that's true. Shaman might really lose a lot of win rate. Yeah. I don't know. I do want to figure one thing out, though, about the Massive Serpent Ward. So, how many wards does he normally summon? 10. So, it just is a ward combined together for the sake of its health. It just has a little bit more damage. But it was nerfed. How much?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear somebody calling. Is that you? Yeah.
Yeah, it's me. Am I too quiet?
I can up you afterwards. This is minor. How much would this really affect anything? I'm not sure. Yeah, so I think that'll affect things too. Everything else is fine though. Alright, I'm going to play Dota in a second, guys. I'm going to get everybody together. That's the goal. So for those of you on YouTube, I appreciate you guys for watching. See you next time. Those of you on Twitch, just give me a second to like get everything together. Alright.